Nelson Mandela. You hear that name and a legend comes to mind, right? An absolute icon of the 20th century. But if you peel back the layers of the myth, you find the story of a man. And it's an incredible story of change, of struggle, and this just unshakable belief in people. So let's get into the life of the man behind the myth.
You know, some people in history just stand out. Their stories of courage completely reshape the world we live in. And Nelson Mandela's journey from a tiny village to the world stage, well, that's definitely one of those stories. His life is really proof of how one determined person can literally change the course of history.
To really understand the global icon, we have to start at the very beginning. And not with a politician or a revolutionary, but with a young boy in a quiet part of South Africa, whose life was all about tradition and listening to the stories of his elders.
So he was born Rolihlahla Mandela, and get this, his name, in the Xhosa language, pretty much meant troublemaker. Kind of prophetic, right? His childhood, though, sounds amazing, running free through green hills, soaking up wisdom from tribal elders. It was actually his teacher who gave him the English name Nelson, the name the whole world would one day celebrate.
But here's the thing. Nelson was born into a country that was being suffocated by the iron grip of apartheid. Now this system, the name itself literally means apartness, was so much more than just prejudice. It was a brutal, legal system designed to segregate and dehumanize people. It was this systemic evil that poisoned every single part of life.
And this really shows you how chillingly real it was. The Population Registration Act could tear families apart based on something as random as the texture of their hair. The Separate Amenities Act meant separate everything, beaches, benches, and a massive chasm of inequality. The Bantu Education Act was basically a tool of oppression, designed to hold black South Africans back. And the pass laws? They turned people into criminals in their own country, policing their every single move.
It was this oppressive system that really forged Mandela's resolve. As he was training to be a lawyer, he saw these injustices every single day, and it lit a fire in him, a fire that would end up fueling a lifelong fight for freedom.
So in 1944, Mandela joins the African National Congress, and at first he's all in on nonviolent protest. But the government's response was just brutal. The 1960 Sharpeville massacre, where police just opened fire on unarmed protesters, was a huge turning point. With the ANC banned and all peaceful options gone, Mandela co-founded Umkhonto weSizwe, the Spear of the Nation. And that decision, that fateful decision, led to his arrest and a sentence of life in prison.
At his infamous trial, Mandela's words just echoed with defiance. He made it crystal clear that turning to armed struggle wasn't a choice they wanted to make, but one they felt they had to make. His speech, where he said he was willing to die for a free and equal society, became this massive rallying cry for the entire anti-apartheid movement.
So his sentence kicked off this new, brutal chapter of his life. They stripped him of his name, tried to reduce him to a number, to systematically erase his identity.
For 27 long years, he was a political prisoner, locked away from the world on the harsh Robben Island.
I mean, think about that. Over 10,000 days. That's a lifetime. For 18 of those years, he was stuck in a tiny cell on Robben Island, forced to do back-breaking labor in a rock quarry. It was this unbelievable test of his body and his mind, something that would either break him or forge him into an even stronger leader.
The apartheid regime really tried to just extinguish his spirit, to reduce him to nothing more than a number, 46664. It was a cold, calculated attempt to erase the man and the symbol of resistance he'd become.
But they couldn't break his spirit, no way. In the face of all that brutality, Mandela and the other prisoners practiced what they called dignified defiance. Little acts of resistance, just to assert their own humanity, to prove that even in chains they were still in charge of their own lives. It's just an incredible testament to the power of the human spirit. So while Mandela was locked away, his cause just ignited a global movement. I mean, from protests and boycotts to concerts and campaigns, the whole world started chanting, "Free Nelson Mandela." The international pressure, plus the resistance inside the country, became a force the apartheid regime just couldn't ignore anymore.
And then, on February 11, 1990, after 27 long years, Nelson Mandela walked out of Victor Verster prison, a free man. The whole world was watching, just captivated. And the question on everyone's mind was, what's he going to do now? Is he going to seek revenge for all those stolen years?
He chose forgiveness. Instead of revenge, he preached reconciliation.
His words became the absolute cornerstone of a new South Africa, a country trying to deal with its painful past, but dead set on building a more just future.
So, the second he was released, Mandela jumped right into these incredibly complex, intense negotiations with the very same government that had imprisoned him. His goal was huge: the complete teardown of apartheid and the creation of a real democracy in South Africa.
And in 1994, what seemed impossible actually happened. For the first time ever, South Africa held democratic elections where every citizen, no matter their race, could vote. Nelson Mandela was elected president, and he called for the creation of a rainbow nation, a new South Africa built on inclusion, forgiveness, and democracy.
And one of his most symbolic acts of reconciliation, one you might have seen in a movie, happened during the 1995 Rugby World Cup. The Springboks, the rugby team, had long been a symbol of white Afrikaner pride. But Mandela put on the team jersey and rallied the entire country behind them. Their victory was this incredibly powerful moment of shared celebration for a country still trying to heal its divisions.
So, while Mandela's presidency was seen as this miracle on the world stage, his legacy inside South Africa is, well, it's a lot more complex and contested. Debates still go on about the compromises he made and the economic inequalities that are still there today.
To the world, he's an icon of peace, right up there with Gandhi or Lincoln. But in South Africa, especially with younger generations, a more critical view has come up. Some argue that Mandela's focus on reconciliation was great, but it came at the cost of economic justice, leaving the deep inequalities from apartheid largely untouched.
And yet, his life is just this powerful testament to the idea that the impossible can be done. I mean, ending apartheid, a peaceful transition to democracy, a black man leading the very nation that had imprisoned him. These were all once unimaginable dreams. But through his courage and his conviction, Mandela made them real.
And really, Mandela's story leaves us with these profound questions, doesn't it? What's the true price of peace? And what is the lasting legacy of a leader who chose reconciliation over revolution? These are questions that South Africa, and really the whole world, is still grappling with. And that just shows you the enduring power of his life and his work.